Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something you sent our way, Alan Gibson's Simple Thinking Intelligent Fighter. Why Wing Chun works too. We're going to try and pull out the really key insights here.
Exactly. And whether you're deep into martial arts or maybe just curious about Wing Chun, our goal is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Explore Gibson's core ideas clearly. We're trying to avoid, getting lost in jargon.
Yeah, this book really frames Wing Chun as, well, more than just moves, right? It's about simplicity, being direct, practical application, and even self-development. Gibson looks at how techniques actually grow out of concepts and, the forces in a real fight.
hmm
Now, it is the second book, so it builds on his first one, Why Wing Chun Works. But look, if you haven't read that, don't sweat it. We'll definitely cover the essential adages, the guiding ideas as we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Our mission today is really to unpack this whole philosophy. Gibson presents simple, intelligent fighting. We want to pull out the stuff you can actually use, those kind of aha moments, and maybe some surprising bits too.
Totally. And right from the start, in a dedication, you get this feeling. Wam Shin Lung asks, basically, does your idea make things simpler, more direct, and more efficient? That seems like the core question, doesn't it?
It really does. And, it's worth mentioning the forewords, too.
Mm.
David Peterson and another expert, they both praise Gibson for being clear and offering practical stuff. That's a good tone, I think.
Mm. Okay, so let's get into it. Starting with the absolute basics, the core principles. Gibson lays out 5 key adages, like constant reminders to keep it simple and effective. First one, hand comes detain, hand goes follow, hand free hit. And then he adds, only don't hit if you can't.
Right. It sounds almost simple, right? But it's profound. Like catching something, you meet it, guide it, then act when you have control. There's that Hong Kong saying, too. Meet what comes, follow what goes, attack when the hands are free. It's less about blocking brute force.
And more about flowing with it.
Exactly. Flowing, controlling, and then bang, hitting that opening.
Okay, and the second one, fight the person, not the hands. I like that. It stops you getting distracted by just the limbs flying around.
Totally. The hands are just tools, the real target, the person, their balance, their center. That's what you need to focus on. It's like tackling the root cause, not just the symptom.
Makes sense. Then number 3, do not strike until you are within 1 step of the enemy. This really points to Wing Chun being close quarters stuff, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's all about being in that range where you hit hard and they can't easily get away. No reaching, no leaning in and getting off balance. Think boxing, you got to be in range.
Gotcha. 4th, attack and defend simultaneously. That feels very Wing Chun, not block, then hit.
Right. It's integrated. Your defense can literally be your attack, or at least create the instant opening for it. Super efficient.
And the last one, number 5, do not meet force with force. Kind of circles back to the first one, right? Yielding, redirecting.
Exactly. Don't try to overpower raw strength.
Mhm.
Use their energy against them. Saves your own energy, makes them work harder. Smart.
Now, Gibson also talks a lot about the forms Silam Tao, Chum Kyu, Biltzer. He says they aren't just dances, they're like demonstrations.
Yeah, demonstrations of correct positions, scenarios, even really broad concepts. Think of them as embodying efficiency.
Mechanical efficiency and economy of movement.
Exactly. Every little movement is designed to cut out waste, maximize effect. They're like the blueprints for Wing Chun movement and power.
But like Gibson says, keeping it simple is actually hard, right? Especially under stress when your fine motor skills just disappear.
Oh, totally. That's where drills like Chi Sau, Lap Sau, single sticking hands come in. They're designed to almost like program those refined responses, especially for attacks aimed at your center or your structure.
So it's about training your body to react smartly without overthinking it.
Pretty much. Developing that sensitivity, that feel, so the right response just happens.
Okay, so forms are key for conditioning, but what other training does Gibson suggest? Any extras?
Well, he's clear that practicing the forms correctly is the best conditioning. They hit the right spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, he adds some things. For legs, stance training with a partner pushing you, that rickshaw drill.
The rickshaw drill, what's that? Sounds intense.
It is. Imagine someone pulling you while you try to maintain your stance, push back with your legs, maybe even punch. Build stability and power chain, understanding how force moves through you. Plus triangle kicking for speed.
Okay, cool. And waist training.
Yep, slow, then faster waist rotations, torso bends with arm circles, all about core power and stability linking legs to arms. He does warn about backward bends for bad backs, which is sensible.
And arms, since it's not about huge biceps.
Right, it's mobility and control. Small circular elbow movements in Bong Sao or Tan Sao shapes keeps the joints working well. And controlled elbow rotations against resistance to really hone that elbow control for deflections.
Then there's hitting stuff. Impact training. Gotta be important.
Crucial. Wall bag, heavy focus mitts, sandbags. All for developing that penetrative power, strengthening wrists, elbows. He stresses hitting from different angles, close range, but without losing balance. Floor-to-ceiling balls for timing, hand-eye stuff. And the wooden dummy, especially for kicking, right, driving from the ground using the heel.
So, okay, you've done the conditioning, you understand the principles. Where do you actually start applying it? Gibson has that getting started chapter.
And he starts right at the foundation, the stance, super detailed. Feet shoulder width, turned in a bit for stability, that pronation, knees bent, pelvis rotated up and forward slightly, clench the glutes to push knees out over feet.
Wow, that's specific.
It is. Relax shoulders, elbows low. It creates this straight line, knees, hips, shoulders for unified movement, and lets the arms stay relaxed but ready. It's your power base.
And from that solid base, the first thing is the straight punch down the center line.
Absolutely. Shortest, most direct route. He basically says any other hand technique is just a result of dealing with a threat or deflection. The goal is always to get back to that simple, straight line attack.
He mentions forearm positioning, too, pointing at their center, elbows low, like pointing a gun.
Yeah, keeps you ready, makes it harder for them to trap your arms. If your elbows are flared up, you're giving them handles, basically.
And the punch itself, the mechanics are specific rising arm, elbow stays below the wrist.
Crucial. And knuckles pushing out and slightly up at the end. That maintains the power line down through your stance and helps disrupt their balance. Lifting the elbow is a big no-no. You hit downwards, lose stance power.
He links it to that upward pressing idea in the forms, right? Getting power without leaning in too much.
Exactly. Power without overcommitting. He uses that great analogy of pushing a car, you get low, use your legs, push up and forward, not down. It's common sense, but people forget.
Yeah, they focus too much on just arm strength.
Right. And relaxation is key, too. Shoulders, arm, relax during the strike so you don't telegraph. Don't even need to clench your fist tight right away. Keep it flowing, other hand ready.
And the range, elbow to elbow. Why so close?
Because attacking from too far out just leads to reaching, getting tense, losing balance. You're vulnerable. His analogy is good. Don't try to swim before you're in the water. You got to be in the right environment, the right range.
And if your striking arm is tense and it gets blocked,
your whole posture gets messed up. But if it's relaxed, only the arm gets deflected. Your structure stays solid, and boom, the other hand can instantly attack that opening.
And the first striking arm comes back to the center line, ready for the next move.
Usually ready to strike again. Not always pulled back into a wusa guard, unless your center's really threatened. He notes wusa can sometimes turn the elbow out, creating a potential weakness.
He even connects this back to the single-sticking hands drill, right? The first movement, Tan Sao rotating, Jum Sao reacting.
Yeah, it all links up. Those fundamental principles are everywhere, reinforcing themselves in the drills. It's a really integrated system.
Okay, let's talk leverage. Huge concept. Gibson quotes Archimedes, "Give me a lever." How's it work in Wing Chun?
It's absolutely central. You can even deflect punches with your own punches and remember that simultaneous attack defense. The elbow is the key, the fulcrum. Rising, sinking, moving diagonally to redirect their force. Think crowbar closer to the fulcrum. Less effort needed.
And he's very clear. No blocks, only deflecting actions.
Yes. Wang Shenlung's terminology. Tan Sao, Pak Sao, they're actions, movements that redirect force, not just static barriers. The name describes the doing, not just the end position.
He talks about how the shapes Tan Sao, Bong Sao use leverage, especially that elbow contact, creating a strong triangle. Elbow, shoulder, center line.
That triangle is your structural base for these actions. And usually, apart from Bong Sao, the elbow points down when striking or deflecting. That keeps the structure strong, linked to your stance, efficient power transfer.
But these shapes aren't strong in every direction, right? You need to face the contact point.
Exactly. Straight on, they're strong. From the side, less so. That's why facing is crucial. You train understanding this by having a partner press along the limb while you hold a shape. Feel how your stance supports it, where the weak points are.
He uses those analogies: the bicycle wheel, spokes strong together under pressure.
And the matchstick. Easy to snap sideways, strong pushed straight down. Really helps visualize structural integrity through correct force application.
And then demonstrates weakness by pushing across a shape, like Tan Sao rolling into Bong Sao. The body rotates like the wheel.
Redirecting force, not just resisting.
Yeah.
And that finger push test near the wrist versus near the elbow on a Tan Sao really shows where the leverage is.
Makes perfect sense. Closer is stronger, better control through that triangle, like lifting heavy boxes close to your body.
Common sense again. And leverage improves with Bong Sao deflecting a continuing punch elbow, controlling elbow. But again, that attacking arm must be relaxed or your whole body gets shifted.
Tension is the enemy here.
Pretty much always in Wing Chun.
Okay, then there's this squaring up drill. What's the idea behind that? Seems like it's about reacting well to sudden stuff.
Yeah, it's training you to turn that instinctive flinch into something useful.
Yeah.
Start close, partner makes a sudden aggressive move, grab, push, punch, and your immediate reaction is square up, hit their center, cover their attacking limbs.
So it's programming that immediate center-focused response under surprise conditions, and then the attacker disrupts your attack.
Right, so you have to flow, adapt continuously. And Gibson adds that interesting point. React the moment you feel threatened. Don't wait for the full attack. Hesitation is dangerous. Trust your gut. Act decisively.
Now, the book's title, Simple Thinking, Intelligent Fighter. We've talked techniques, but what's this simple thinking?
It's about stripping things down. Simplicity, economy of motion, that's core Wing Chun. But humans often make things more complex, right? Even in martial arts. Gibson warns against getting mesmerized by fancy drills that aren't actually the most direct solution.
He uses that crossed arm attack example. The defense starts complex Pak Sau, then Lap Sau.
But he shows it's unnecessary. The defending hand should just keep going forward to hit after the initial deflection. Simpler. Then he reduces it again. Against a straight punch, just pivot and hit back simultaneously. Most direct.
So it's always asking, is this the simplest, most direct way? Even when practicing Lap Sau, the goal is still the straight hit. Lap Sau just helps create the opening.
Exactly. The technique serves the principle, not the other way around. And drills only work if both partners use the right force. He mentions single sticking hands again. Your response depends if the punch is a real threat to your center, beating Bong Sau, or offline, allowing a direct counter.
Which leads to his theory of reduction.
Yeah, the idea that drills should train you to think fundamentally, always aiming for that simple punch. Strip away the fluff, get to the core. Useful reflexes based on principles.
What about other reduction drills, moving targets?
That's where one person leads with random steps, the follower stays connected, maintains range and elbow position, tries to dominate the center line. Then you add random pushes, guard changes, forcing relaxed responses like rolling into Bong Sau. As speed increases, the follower should end up controlling the center.
Sounds like great training for staying structured against unpredictable movement.
Definitely. And he applies the same logic to Lap Sau drills. Bong Sau defense, only if it's a good attack on the center. Counterattack only if the defense works. Lap Sau pull, only because there's an obstacle. Keep aiming for the center strike.
Keep the intent pure, even within the drill.
That's the essence of it. Deviations are necessary responses, not the primary plan.
Let's circle back to punching. Intelligent, strategic punching. Gibson kind of debunks the idea of just overwhelming someone with chain punches, doesn't he? This feels applicable beyond fighting quality over quantity.
He really does. Sniper versus machine gun, right? Against someone skilled, just flailing away is asking for trouble. Punches need to be smart, placed as a reaction to an opening or a structural weakness you feel.
Using that force sensitivity from training, throw fewer punches, but make them count. Like Wang Shun Lung, meaning maybe only 2 or 3.
That's the idea. Feel the opponent's structure, tension, openings through touch. Deliver strikes that land effectively. He talks about entry strikes making contact to gauge reaction versus damaging strikes, which are free, no contact until impact.
And the drill for this? Partner touching your guard arm randomly?
Yeah, you practice changing guards smoothly, no crossed arms, keeping stance still. Then they press towards your center. And the key is, when you feel your structure disrupted, relax that arm and instantly punch with the other down the center while realigning the first arm.
So it's about finding the counter the moment they commit.
Exactly. Maintaining your core, finding the immediate counter. Then you progress to moving drills, tracking their center, always facing them to punch effectively, integrating it all.
Okay, what about kicking? Seems less prominent in Wing Chun sometime.
Gibson says the ideal kick is direct, foot to target, moving upwards into them. Downward kicks, or kicking from a bad stance ineffective, messes up your posture, makes you lean back. You got to press that grounded leg forward to stay stable, especially if they push back.
Drive it forward with rear leg power, like kicking them off the ground. Recoil goes into the stance, like in Chum Kyu.
Exactly. Practice on the dummy kick directly, powerfully. Don't bounce back. And after the kick, the idea is to move forward into punching range. Kicking is useful when range opens up, if they retreat, or maybe a quick step kick to close distance, or after disengaging from Chi Sau. And funnily enough, if they lean back to dodge a kick, their chin might come right into punch range.
Sometimes you need to back up, though. Retreat steps. Gibson says never straight back, right? Angling is key.
Absolutely. Step back at an angle, gets you off their attack line, and gives you a better angle to counter from strength, like zigzagging away from someone with a gun, harder target.
He describes that drill, retreating with Gong Sao, bow hand. Attacker steps in, you step back diagonally, pressing Gong Sao towards their opposite shoulder.
Yeah, the fixed elbow of Gong Sao forces your stance back-angled, setting up a strong counterpunch position. Don't step too far out, though, or they just follow easily. Just enough angle to clear a path for your counter. And the punch replaces the Gong Sao, doesn't cross it, Gong Sao stays ready.
But again, if you can retreat and punch simultaneously without the Gong Sao shape, that's better.
Always preferable if possible. Punching beats, just blocking, even moving back, keep the offense going.
Okay, now the big one, Chi Sau. Sticking hands. Gibson calls it the unique fast-track training method. What's the magic?
It's about programming those efficient reactions, dealing with that diminished response under pressure. Practice develops sensitivity to random, aggressive force, letting you fight intelligently, not just relying on set patterns. But crucially, he says it's a training method, not constant fighting.
Emphasizing cooperation over competition in train.
Hugely important. You need correct forces from your partner to learn correct responses. Just scrapping all the time leads to tension, bad habits. Sparring is for pressure testing, conditioning with fear. But Chi Sau is for detailed learning, analysis. Can't analyze if you're just trying to win.
But you still need to experience some fear, some aggression.
Yeah, builds confidence. Training under stress, even simulated, helps you harness aggression. Pressure test what you learn. Sparring with scenarios can bring in adrenaline safely. Focus and intent are needed. Just maybe not actually damaging your partner in training.
And the goal isn't just fighting, it's efficiently stopping them fighting you. Quick knockdown, ideally. Chi Sau helps when your first attack gets messy.
Exactly. When it gets blocked, jammed, deflected. Chi Sau helps predict, jam, deflect their stuff, and maintain range for your strikes, all based on feel. Ideally, you slip and punch clean. Chi Sau is for when it's not ideal.
Can you break down that basic rolling action, Tan Sao, Bong Sao, Fruk Sao? Maybe use an analogy.
Okay, imagine. Like 2 gears meshing, but softly. Your Tan Sao, palm slightly up, gently tries to slide forward inside their Fruk Sao, palm inward, elbow down. It's seeking the center. The Fruk Sao feels this, gently guides it, maintains contact. Then the Tan Sao hand flips over, elbow rolls up into Bong Sao, forearm like a wing, pressing slightly forward, wrist on the center. This tends to nudge their Fruk Sao wrist off center, so they have to adjust their elbow to stay aligned. Then, to go back to Tan Sao, the Bong Sao elbow rotates downwards first. Never pull the hand back, then the hand relaxes and rolls over last. The other person mirrors this. It's a continuous flowing loop of feeling and responding.
Relaxation is key again.
Absolutely. For sensitivity, put energy in, connect to your stance, but don't tense up. Good shapes feel connected, compressed, signaling the next move. Bad shapes cause tension, cushioning, shaking, relaxed arms, strong posture, absorb force.
What are the common mistakes people make here?
Being too far apart is a big one. Just touching wrists. Can't hit without reaching, focuses on hands, not elbows, leads to tension. Need relaxed hands to hit. Elbows defend better, more powerfully. Remember, leverage control their elbow.
And being too far also makes you vulnerable to kicks, he says. Other errors.
Tan Sao elbow, wrong angle or too close. Bong Sao wrist collapsing inward. Fruk Sao getting dragged offline. All create openings. And if someone's leaning heavily on your Bong Sao, it probably means their stance is bad. Counter by pivoting to Lan Sao, remove their lean, drag them onto your palm strike.
He also mentions mixing in single stick and hands movements during the roll.
Yeah, brief pauses where you practice tan punch, bong punch, etc. gets you used to reacting to linear attacks within that rolling context. Then add pivoting on Bong Sao, but crucially, remember to bring that other hand back to Wu Sao on the center line. Don't let it drift sideways with the pivot, or you'll get hit.
Then the four corners basic reflexes. Need a good partner for this, giving the right forces.
All right, 4 scenarios. 1, punch from their Fruk Sao on cross center. Your Bong Sao reflex, other hand Wu Sao and punch pin. 2, punch from Fruk Sao, not crossing center. Your Tan Sao, then punch, no big turn needed. 3, they defend your attack with Tan Sao punch. Your Gong Sao presses their shoulder, other hand Wu Sao, then punch pin. 4, strong inside attack, Fruk Sao can't handle, abandon Fruk Sao, pivot, slip Tan Sao across his Pak Sao, elbow pins their other arm, Fruk Sao returns to center, ready to hit. Don't change angle when you hit back.
Drill these left and right, maybe weaker side first, and stepping attacks change things.
Yeah, stepping changes range, power, position, so responses differ. And once you learn these as defenses, most can become stepping attacks, clearing both their arms for a free shot. Pak Sao can even come from your Fruk Sao arm, low elbow trapping their Tan Sao elbow. Bong Sao can defend that Pak Sao.
Then he explores variations on basic attack and defense, emphasizing feeling over rigid technique, sensitivity and positioning again.
Exactly. Feel what's happening. Find the best response through position, not just fighting the force. He gives loads of examples. Quick counter from Tan Sao against Bong Sao, stepping backs for stepping attacks, pressing Fuk Sao forward instead of pulling back, using Bu Sao to free a trapped elbow, countering Lap Sao and Jit Sao.
It sounds like a constant chess match based on feel and structure.
It really is.
Yeah.
Endless possibilities. But the key is always coming back to simple principles for recall under pressure. Deal with many attacks using a few core ideas.
And technique evolution, seeing how moves flow into each other.
Yeah, work through sequences slowly, cooperatively. Find the most efficient flow. See how a bad Tan Sao leads to Bong Sao defense. Maybe shifting Tan Sao counter, how attacking from Tan Sao might meet Gong Sao, leading to Bong Sao punch if they overcommit. How Quan Sao is countered by Pak Sao step, which is countered by Bong Sao. How a pulled down Bong Sao leads to a pin, countered by Tan Sao punch or Bu Sao. It shows the adaptability.
It's demonstrating that for every move, if rules are followed, there's an answer. Mistakes happen, but the system has logic.
Precisely. Slow analysis builds flow. Then freeform practice builds spontaneity. But never forget the basic drills. They're the source code.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. The chapter Reality Training by Lee Morrison. This brings it out of the training hall.
Morrison makes some key points for real self-defense. Know your enemy. Gratuitous violence often starts deceptively close, then sudden attack, maybe ground fighting, over in seconds. And awareness. Lack of it makes any conflict an ambush.
He criticizes typical pre-fight stances for the street.
Yeah, says they're often for sparring, not self-protection. He advocates a natural, open-handed, non-aggressive guard mobile. Hands ready to control distance, gesturing naturally maybe. The aggressor will close the gap. You don't need to force it.
And from that guard, have one or two well-practiced preemptive strikes ready, like a center punch or Bu Sao to the eyes, acknowledging the tricky legality-morality of striking first.
But saying it's often sensible if you genuinely feel threatened and violence seems unavoidable. Crucially, train these with impact wall bag pads. Muscle memory of hitting hard is vital. And address adrenaline.
Ah, yes, the shaky limbs, tunnel vision. How do you train for that?
Desensitize through adrenal controlling scenarios. Role-play realistic aggression, posturing, pushing, swearing. Induce that fear response in training. Your brain doesn't know it's fake, floods you with adrenaline. Repeated exposure helps you learn to function with it, not be paralyzed by it.
Knowing the enemy, range control, impact training, understanding fear, adrenaline, big factors for real situations.
Morrison thinks they significantly improve your odds.
Finally, the book includes Dr. Mark Curtis on health benefits. It's a fighting art, but there's more to it.
Definitely. Beyond strength cardio, Curtis highlights posture and body mechanics, huge benefits for life, especially as you age. Anyone with back pain gets this. The basic stance has links to Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, known healthy practices. Forms improve posture, circulation, flexibility.
He calls it a soul food diet, that feeling good after training.
Yes, suggesting deeper physical and psychological benefits. He contrasts Wing Chun with arts potentially damaging joints through unnatural movements or excessive impact, like breaking boards. Wing Chun, done right, is soft, flowing, deflecting, not clashing. Close range keeps elbows bent, less joint stress.
Forms are meditative. Chi Sau is gentle aerobic exercise, emphasizing relaxation.
He thinks stress relief might be the biggest health benefit. Plus, the positive focus helps psychologically self-esteem, maybe reducing depression risk. Close training builds trust, partnership. Dynamic Chi Sau teaches ego control advantages shift fast.
And the philosophy. Centerline is life balance, simplicity in a complex world.
Those parallels exist. Kung Fu can subconsciously shape your approach to problems. That Taoist saying sums it up. Lessons learned by the body educate the mind. Finding that personal meaning is key. It can be soul food.
The book also briefly touches on Chum Kyu form movements, info on Gibson's Wing Chun Federation, and some promotional stuff like t-shirts and posters.
Right, just extra context for those wanting to follow up on Gibson's specific lineage or find resources.
Yeah. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into Simple Thinking Intelligent Fighter, we've really hit on those core principles, the logic behind the training, the vital role of stance, centerline leverage.
Yeah, and dug into Chi Sau, how it builds sensitivity, reflexes, intelligent responses, plus the reality training aspects and those often overlooked health and self-development benefits.
And kept circling back to that Wang Shanlung idea. Strive for simple, direct, efficient. It's a powerful filter, isn't it?
Absolutely. Less is often more elegantly effective.
Which leads us to a final thought for you listening. Gibson's book is all about stripping away the unnecessary in combat to find what works best. So here's the question. What unnecessary complexities, maybe in your own life, your work, your studies, could you perhaps identify and eliminate to get more direct, more effective results?
Something to chew on. And look, if this conversation sparked your interest in Alan Gibson's work or the Wing Chun Federation, definitely check them out.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.